Yo guys, how's it going? This is Lucas from Hold an Absence. I'm currently hanging out with my boy Rob on Front Row Live.
I am so excited to be a new fan of your band, and I feel like it's such a good time to be a fan right when an album is about to drop and you guys are getting ready for the sophomore record. But before we really dive into that album, I just really want to talk about the most recent new single, In Circles, because it's like, I thought the last song was great, and then this one was just like another step up, and then I feel like the entire album is going to be another and another and another step up. Talk to me about In Circles and the creative process for this track in particular.
So yeah, In Circles was is quite a unique song on this record because it was very much like a case of the topic of the song kind of dictating the sonic qualities of the song. You know, like I came up with this idea to kind of sing about the monotony of day-to-day life and how, you know, people don't really aspire to do much in their day-to-day lives, you know. And then we kind of had the cool idea to maybe make the song feel like it was kind of going through the motions as well, you know. So the verse is very much like a spinning wheel, you know, and the structure is really, really simple as well. But I think it really adds to the kind of just the message of the song, really. So it was a really unique song in that respect, because you don't normally feel like, you know, you just do what you want when you write music normally, and it's fine. But with this one, we felt like we kind of had like a message to like kind of adhere to a little bit. But yeah, I'm really proud of it, and I'm super happy with the response as well, because Afterlife is very much like a fist pumper, you know, and like it's a club banger, you know. But whereas with this one, this is very much an introspective, progressive, emotional track, and those are two things we do just as well as each other. But I'm very grateful that I think people embraced it a lot with this song. So yeah.
In Circles really, like, it really caught my attention, like, immediately, just because upon listening to it, I was like, man, I feel like he's talking to me. Because I was going through, when you guys released it, I was going through a few days where I was just like in this kind of zone where like I don't feel like doing anything. There's no motivation. Maybe I was just drained or something. But like, and then I'm listening to the song and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is like drilling me right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's funny because, you know, we recorded the records last February, you know, so before. And it's mad how even I myself, I've never, you know, being a musician since leaving school, I've never had a routine life really. So it even hit home a little bit with me as well. So I think it came out at quite a poignant time for sure.
It's interesting that you guys also released this one in advance of the album, just because, as you kind of mentioned, this one is a unique song compared to the other stuff that I've listened to so far from this record. It's, I don't want to say it's a slower song, but compared to the other material, it kind of is. So, how did you make this song kind of fit the identity of this record and at the same time, like the sounds and the sonics of the album?
So yeah, this song, once again, to be honest, the whole record, we worked with a guy called Dan Weller on this record, and he's brilliant. And he really like thinks about the music, you know, the same way that we do. And so every song has kind of like a different drum sound, or every song has different guitar tones. We definitely didn't kind of plug into a channel and just roll with it, you know. So this song specifically has a very lo-fi kind of vibe to it. You know, the guitars are twinkling in the background. The drums sound very damp and kind of depressing, really. You know, so we really wanted to make sure that we painted this picture. And like you said, you know, kind of, I guess, gearing this up to be a single, I think it was just like a mission statement that the album is an uncompromising, vision-driven kind of piece of work. And this song is the same. Like, you know, I watched a reaction video where the guys were like, oh, you know, it doesn't really do much. And it's kind of like, that is literally the point of the song. The song is about how little we people do, you know, and like, you know, I felt like putting this one out was kind of a way of saying, like, if you're willing to be patient and trust this band, you're going to love the album, you know?
I feel like you guys are super happy with the tracks for this record. I feel like you guys are content and created kind of like the album that you guys wanted to create. I haven't listened to the entire album just yet, but for the few songs that I listened to, at first I was like, okay, Afterlife is definitely like one of my top favorites. And then I listened to Celebration song and I was just like, damn, this guy's voice just gets better and better. So talk to me about your voice for, you know, specifically for Afterlife and Celebration song, and like just being able to control that kind of grit that you have when you're singing and screaming at the same time.
Yeah, to be honest, I always view the grit and the screams as kind of like a byproduct of the melody. You know, I never, there's one or two tracks where I kind of push, but you know, for me, the ultimate goal is to try and capture this melody and you know, kind of affect it in whatever way I can and try and make it feel more believable or maybe evoke more emotion from it, you know. But I've been singing for so long, you know, like as a, I think nobody has a choice that singing is their first instrument, because as babies we sing along to things, you know. So I'm very fortunate that I've kind of just stuck with singing over the years. My voice has definitely gotten better. I listen back to old things and think it sounds, you know, terrible. But, you know, hopefully one day I'll listen back to this album and think it sounds terrible, because like I'll be so much further ahead again, you know. So, yeah.
What exactly kickstarted the writing process for The Greatest Mistake of My Life? Like where did the idea of like, this is going to be what the album's identity is going to be all about?
Yeah. So identity is a really, really big part of this album, but B, you know, we're already working on album 3 and we're already really getting the cogs going on what the identity of that is going to be. Because I think, you know, I think when you're trying to convince somebody to believe in something, you can't, you know, it's like, yeah, it's cool, here's a picture, but like, it would look better with a frame around it, right? You know what I mean? It'd look better in a room that with a complementary color pattern, you know. It's kind of like, for us, it's always been about giving the listener more to believe in on top of the music. And if the music convinces you straight away, banging, you know, but I think it's really cool to kind of try and really capture everything you can, you know. But yeah, so with this album, I've told this is a tired story at this point, especially for me, because I'm the guy who's telling it every time. But my grandmother kind of one day told me that my great uncle had recorded a record when he was younger, maybe in the 1950s, of him singing a cover of a song. And the song was The Greatest Mistake of My Life. And I'd obviously never heard of it before. And it didn't seem to me like many people had heard of it. And it just felt really magical because the lyrics felt very similar to something I myself would have written. It come through my grandmother, who was obviously a very special person in my life. And it just felt like I was being drawn towards this title, you know. And then we named it very early. We named the record pretty much 2 songs in, you know. We knew we wanted it to be called this. And the rest was kind of wheeling backwards. You know, having a song from the 1920s inspire things gives you a real understanding of aesthetic in regards to the cinematic kind of vibe or the timeless kind of vibe or the film kind of vibe, you know. It's like I feel like we really, really knew what this album was going to become from a very, very early stage. Talk
to me a little bit about Ash, because his drumming is intense on his record.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
And it's funny because coincidentally enough, you see those comments throughout the videos of like, oh my gosh, he's hitting it so hard or this or that. Yeah. So, you know, how different was it for Ashley to you know, do the drums or record the drums on this album? And how do you feel the producer kind of like challenged him?
Yeah, wicked question. Because Ash, you know, it's funny because obviously I'm at the front of the arrowhead pouring my heart out, but Ash is the whole wooden rod pushing the whole thing forwards, you know. He does it with such vigor and intensity and purpose. And I think I'm glad that he gets acknowledged like that, because, you know, it's obvious I care, but like that dude is going crazy in the background, you know. And yeah, like you said about the connection with Dan, our producer, I think one of the kind of the crowning kind of moments on this record is the fact that we had chosen to really capture the passion through the drums, you know, and he was hitting those snares harder than any sound engineer would ever allow any drummer, you know. But like, that's kind of the point, you know. You can feel him in the background raging his head off the same way I am, you know. And I think, yeah, you know, on all cylinders. Then you've got myself at the front, him at the back. The music is deep and expansive. I think it really helps to add to that kind of sincere, cathartic kind of sound, you know?
While he's banging hard on the drums and, you know, just making it even more extreme as the song already is, like, how does that impact you and the vocals and the way that, you know, the ranges that you're going to be hitting because he's going so hard?
It's, to be honest, is everyone else on stage is inspired by that. You know, we do music videos and we always insist that he does his takes first because, like, he sets the bar. You know, it's like music videos, it's really easy to turn up and be like, I'm my man, I'm not plugged in, I'm obviously like not, you know, this is stupid, I'm pretending to play a song here. But like Ash, just every time we do a video, it's just like, oh my God, it's like a show times 10. And it's a really inspiring. And I think that's what you want as a musician, is to look around you and be inspired by the people around you as well.
For you personally and lyrically, which track challenged you the most on this album?
Ooh, you know, every song is very, very a lot, you know, like, so I didn't have an easy time with many of these tracks. But for me personally, Morning Song was a real, I don't know if you'd have got that far on the record, but it's like the last proper song. It's like 7 minutes long, and it is like the highest note I've ever hit is in that song. And it's just this, it's like exercising my demons to the fullest extent. And I think another thing that was quite tough about that song is, regardless of it being a very, you know, sincere, emotional kind of thing on a lyrical level and a very physical thing on a vocal level, like, the song is about death and learning from the death of a loved one. And I myself, touch wood, am fortunate not to have had too many deaths in my recent life. So I knew what the story was of that song, but I knew how important it was to, like, present it with eloquence, you know, like I didn't want to be ham-fisted at all. I wanted to be very, very aware that this song could mean the world to somebody who's really gone through what it speaks about, you know. And as someone who is fortunate enough to kind of, I view myself as more of like a writer, you know. For example, J.K. Rowling wasn't a wizard, you know what I mean, but she wrote 7 books about them, you know. So you don't have to particularly go through these things. You need to just empathize with the emotions. And for me, with such a sensitive topic, that was the hardest bit, is walking that tightrope and making sure that I did right by the song and by the people who could maybe be inspired by the song as well.
Well, you guys had Dan as the producer. First of all, what was it about him that you guys chose him to be the producer for this album? And secondly, how do you feel he made you guys kind of step out of that comfort zone to create or become better artists, better songwriters, better performers for this album?
Yeah, it was a no-brainer to work with him, to be honest, because we'd written music with him as well before. He's a brilliant songwriter. So, you know, we'd had so, for example, Afterlife, we'd sat down and written with him, and Like a Shadow, one of our other bigger kind of tracks, we'd written with him. So it just felt right for him to be the guy delivering it, you know, and really kind of controlling, I guess, the songs that he was having input in, you know. But as far as like him pushing us, you know, I think it was just because he cared so much. He really obviously cared about the album, you know, and he was like, it's fine for me because I'm waking up at 1 PM and I'm singing at 2 AM, you know, and that is like a shift, but it's not the end of the world because I can have a big lie in, you know. But Scott, our guitarist, was waking up at 8 AM every morning and tracking from 9 AM. And Dan was there for every minute of both of those kind of things. And I think you just kind of realize that when somebody as professional and as accomplished as Dan was or is, you know, cares that much about something, like, and it's your thing that he cares about, it's not his band, it's you know, that really, really inspires you to just kind of work just as hard, really. So yeah, there was something in the water that month we were tracking this album, for sure. Do
you feel like Dan was more of a melodies kind of guy or more of a lyrics kind of guy during this recording process?
I'm like a freaky big brain lyric-y guy, you know, like I'm very I'm not like a overly controlling, but like I just, you know, I try my best to make sure that I'm really paying attention to the lyrics. So I think to be honest, everything but lyrics, Dan was really, really at the helm with everything. But even then, every now and then I'd say something that didn't make sense and he'd let me know, so.
Lastly, what was one of the challenges that you guys felt you faced during the recording process of this record?
Whew, good question. It's a tough one because I just feel like, man, we just had the best time of our lives, and we performed the best any of us have ever performed as songwriters and as musicians, so in all honesty, it did feel like a breeze, but on a real like high kind of level as well, and I think the biggest challenge was doing that for the first time, like 5 weeks in the studio every day, like I felt, I've had depression loads in my life, but there was maybe 2 or 3 days of that month where I was like, I'm gonna watch some cartoons in the corner and eat hummus, and just like, because like it was so full on. I definitely needed time, but so I think for me, that was probably the hardest thing to overcome, was just the level that we were at. I'd never been there before. It was like I was playing football against professionals, or I was, I felt like I was really up there for the first time in my life, and I loved every minute, and I'm excited to hopefully next time we do it, I'll only have 2 days of watching cartoons and eating hummus.
That's when you put on In Circles and kind of remind yourself, you gotta
don't put down the hummus, my dude.
Well, I like that you made that point of like, it's your first time experiencing something like this, because one of the comments, and I can't remember who had commented on it, but on one of your videos was, it was something along the lines of like, the moment when Holding Absence is better than the bands that they idolize, or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's like,
yeah, dude, that's the biggest compliment.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it's extra poignant because like we unashamedly are music obsessives, we grew up like idolizing bands. We still do, I'm a nerd for so many bands, but like, I feel like I really am that kid commenting, or that kid in the crowd, I'm lucky to have persevered and actually been able to do the things I'd always dreamed of doing. But, so for me, it's like even thinking or putting myself on the same pedestal as bands that I grew up with, that's just like a really, really special comment. Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing, dude. Well, congratulations with the success so far, and looking forward to The Greatest Mistake of My Life, which drops on the 16th of April on Sharptone Records. And thank you again for taking the time, dude.
Dude, pleasure. It was lovely to meet you, man. And like, it was nice to chat, so hopefully we can have a chat next in person. That'd be
seriously, that'd be amazing. You're going to have to take me into the studio. So